On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, I talk with two Tesla owners who are taking their Cybertrucks to the literal top of the world. Plus, Tesla's referral program returns. Another major music service looks to be coming to the Tesla fleet soon. Tesla's running a pretty sweet promotional deal on the Model X, and more. What's happening, friends? I'm Ryan McCaffrey, and I am very pleased to be joining you for the palindromatic episode 474 of Ride the Lightning. It's your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast, this one publishing on September 1st, 2024. Daisy the Boxer to my left, mine of the future service dog, is with her other family right now. I will get her back in about a week or so. Can't wait to see what progress that little wonder pup has made. I hope all of you are doing well. Super fun episode of Ride the Lightning coming up a little later in the podcast, as the topic suggests, the headline topic, the title of this episode. I will have an interview with two Cybertruck owners who are taking their Cybertrucks farther than anyone's ever taken a Cybertruck before. So stay tuned for that a little later in the podcast. But first, let's get warmed up with some fun stories here, starting with this. The referral program is back. After a brief hiatus, it is now back in its, at this point, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth incarnation. It evolves, it changes every time it goes away and comes back. This time, I think it's a really enticing offer for both the referrer and the referee, and that is cold hard cash. In the case of the person using the referral code, you get a $1,000 discount on a Model 3, Model Y, Model S, or Model X. No Cybertruck on this one. $1,000 off the purchase price of a new vehicle. Tesla has done this before, but not in many, many years at this point. Now, we don't know how long this will be running, but certainly it will be going for at least this month, which is through the end of the quarter. And personally, I think there's a good chance it's going to stick around through at least the end of the year. That is just me speculating. I don't have any tangible, concrete information on that. But if they're just firing this up again now with that kind of enticement, $1,000 off a car, I think they're probably looking at their numbers going, okay, we need to try and a little harder here. We need to dangle a few more carrots at the end of the stick to try and meet our production and delivery goals for the year 2024. And as such, I think there's probably a pretty darn good chance this is going to stick around through Q4. But even if it is, Tesla's not going to say that as of yet because they want to sell as many cars as they can in Q3. Now, if you do not already own a Tesla, I would be super grateful if you might consider using my referral link, as the referrer gets $500 in credit that can be used towards supercharging, service, or stuff in the Tesla store, or even a discount off of a new car. There is a maximum of 10 referrals per person, which, to be quite honest with you, I'm glad they're doing. I think that makes it more fair for everyone. So, if you are going to purchase a Tesla for the first time, because if you're buying one again, if you already have one, you can just use your own code and you'll get a loyalty bonus. So that's super cool as well. But if you're a first-time Tesla buyer and you'd like to use my referral code, I'd be humbled and grateful if you would, as if you've gotten a lot of enjoyment and information out of the podcast, use my code. But more importantly, just make sure you're getting that $1,000 off, whether it's my code or someone else's. But to use mine, here's what to do. It's pretty simple. You just have to type this into a web browser on a desktop or your phone. Type in ts.la/Ryan73014. Ryan, of course, spelled Ryan. That's ts.la/Ryan Ryan73014. I'll also put this in the episode description so you can refer back to that. And when you type that in and press enter, or if you're just clicking it from the episode description, it will take you to the Tesla.com website, where you will then choose which model you want, S, 3, X, or Y, and from there, configure your car however you see fit, whatever options you want to do, and when you order it, the $1,000 discount will be applied. And I do want to just point out, because this happens every time there's a referral program, in the terms and conditions, I did go and read them on the Tesla website, Tesla makes it explicitly clear that you must place your order through the referral link. Tesla will not retroactively apply the $1,000 discount. So again, if you want to use mine, type in ts.la/Ryan73014, and that'll take you to the Tesla site where you can configure your car, whichever of the four you like, and that'll get you the $1,000 off. Next up this week, as we get warmed up, the Cybercab, aka the Robotaxi, the reveal of that interesting new piece of technology that Tesla is betting big on, is just over a month away, scheduled for October 10th. And Bloomberg has a very interesting mini scoop about the event's location. No, it's not going to be at Giga Texas, which I've heard a lot of people figure that that's probably where it would be. And no, it's not where I thought it would be, which is the Tesla Design Studio, aka where Franz works and designs all the cars, down in Hawthorne in the Los Angeles area. That's where all of the other vehicle unveilings have taken place over the years. The 3, the Y, the Cybertruck, Actually, I'm not sure about S and X, but certainly the last number of cars, the last several cars Tesla has unveiled, it's happened there, because that's where the prototype is built. That's where they can keep the car secure and safe and not have anything leak. And so that's where they've been having the unveiling events. But not this time. This event, according to Bloomberg, it's still in Southern California, but Bloomberg reports that the event will take place on the Warner Brothers lot over in Burbank. Now, presumably, this is to avoid regulatory hassles of giving driverless, level 5 autonomous test rides to attendees at the event on public roads in a vehicle that's not yet approved for public roads, because of course it's still a prototype, or it will be. The version we see it's probably still under construction right now. It's still a prototype, so that it makes perfect sense when you think about it that way. So I imagine that Tesla is going to use that Warner Brothers lot and the massive amount of space there to put together a pretty good size course, like a makeshift city block or something, or a makeshift town, to then be able to have the cars navigate through in the test rides that will inevitably be given at this October event. And so this will all be, of course, the Warner Brothers lot. It's all private roads, all private property. So Tesla doesn't have to worry about any regulatory issues with giving members of the public rides in driverless level 5 autonomous cars. This one, I very, very much hope I get to attend this. I am dying to see the Cybercab. We'll see if I get an invitation or not. I used to have the good luck for it, but the last several events I have not. So if any of you out there do end up getting an invitation, and you'd be so kind enough as to think of me as your +1, I would be super humbled and grateful for that. And when that time comes, you can email me, let me know. Once those invites go out, you can always email me, teslapodcast@gmail.com. I would be absolutely happy to buy you dinner that night, or the night before, whatever, as a thank you if anybody has it in their hearts to add me as a +1. Listeners have done it before. It's happened at, the last 2 events, in fact, or not the last 2, but 2 of the last notable ones, which were the Cybertruck launch, which Andy Sly was kind enough to make me his +1, And then the Plaid launch event back in June of 2021, I was a +1 for that as well. So I have so many nice listeners out there, and I try never to take that for granted. You all are such kind, wonderful people. We're all here to share in this enthusiasm that we have for these cars and that we have for what this company is doing. Next up this week, still getting warmed up, I wanted to say thank you to, speaking of kind listeners, to the number of folks who sent me this, which, by the way, tells me that I've got plenty of longtime listeners out there who know that I've been asking for this for quite a while, and that is, it looks like the Tesla fleet, yes, including the Model 3 and the Model Y, will be getting a SiriusXM radio app in the cars. I believe the proper credit for this, the person that found it first, goes to Tesla Motors subreddit user KDon136, KDon with a K, who brought screenshot proof to a thread on the Tesla Motors subreddit. Plus, they brought a link to the SiriusXM website that was live for anybody to click on and look at until SiriusXM figured out that they had clearly flipped the switch early and they took it down. But KDon136 posted the screenshot of the webpage with the caption, "Was Googling SiriusXM Tesla and found this result from SiriusXM that looks like it was posted, at the time, 3 days ago. It's earlier this week." He said, they say, "I think it's SXM Canada, but still a good sign nonetheless." KDon is correct there. It was indeed from the SiriusXM Canada page because it was .ca. But that page, that Canadian SiriusXM page, included screenshots of a Model 3 interface with the SiriusXM app in there. So this isn't just a refresh of the Model S and X SiriusXM integration that's existed for quite a while back on the quote-unquote classic S's and X's. But SiriusXM is arguably the last major media service that wasn't already on the Teslas. Or I guess rather I should specifically say again, the last major media service that wasn't on all Teslas, because the S's and X's, those classic S's and X's, used to come with SiriusXM via a physical satellite radio antenna mounted to the car. So they didn't use SiriusXM via the car's integrated cellular connection. They used the direct, actual satellite radio connection through the antenna. Now, for me, sorry if some of you are hearing this for maybe the fourth or fifth time at this point, but I am excited about this because I have a lifetime subscription to SiriusXM that I bought in early 2006. Yes, almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, 18 and a half, which is when I got my last new car before my Model 3. And shortly after 2006 is when SiriusXM stopped offering lifetime subscriptions. And back at the time, for the 12 years that I had that car, I listened to SiriusXM exclusively in that old car because even by then, for my personal tastes, FM radio was pretty dead at that point. And so I was a very diehard, very regular SiriusXM listener. So that car is long gone, but I still have the subscription through the lifetime subscription through the SiriusXM app because any Sirius subscriber can access it through their app, not just through a satellite radio receiver with a satellite radio antenna. So if indeed this arrives in our cars, I should be able to log right in via my Model 3 once the SiriusXM arrives in our cars. And I will say, now that I have my Tesla, it's been 6 awesome years and counting, I have to say, I'm really, really happy with the Slacker radio that comes with it, but I would definitely put SiriusXM to regular use. They've got some good rock stations that I like on there. I'll give a shout out to Lithium, Channel 34. I still have these things memorized. And the Spectrum, I'm a fan of as well. It's Channel 28. Plus, SiriusXM has live sporting events as well, which is a nice thing to have. Now, would I recommend paying for SiriusXM? since, like I said, I'm not paying for it. I'm grandfathered in, fortunately, on that old lifetime sub, but would I recommend paying for it? Or I guess put another way, would I pay for it now if it arrived in my Model 3, but I didn't have a lifetime subscription? I'll be honest with you, I'm not so sure. I will say I don't actually know what it costs per month these days, but what I'm sure of is that they will have a free trial. So if and when this app arrives in the Tesla fleet, you should be able to give it a try if, like me, you kind of miss what FM radio used to be like. I guess you have to be of a certain age to have a fondness for the old days of FM radio. And I'm talking like the 90s and early 2000s, before FM radio really started to lose a lot of relevance in the entertainment space. But anyway, I guess that's how I would best describe SiriusXM. It's kind of in my opinion, plussed up version of classic FM radio. And I like that. Maybe you would too, maybe you wouldn't. But the good news is it looks like Teslas will be getting a SiriusXM app sooner rather than later. Next up, a quick bit of good news for you Android users out there. Tesla's app, the Tesla app, that's the newest version on Android, 4.36.1, officially adds Sentry mode previews for Android. This comes via Not a Tesla app. And yes, this means that Android users will now be able to watch a 1-minute preview of a Sentry event from your phone rather than only being able to view it in your car. You won't have to go to your car anymore to look at it there. You can look at it right on your phone. Like if a Sentry event triggers and you're inside a restaurant or something, you can just take a quick look at it right there on your phone. That is a great, great feature. Awesome stuff from Tesla. And speaking of good news, if you're in the market for a long-range Model X, Tesla's running a promotion right now that might push you over the edge from considering it to buying it. I mean, if I were in the market for if I were thinking about it, I should say, if I were like, oh, you know what, I've always liked the X. Yeah, maybe the price now it's down to 80 for the long range. Like, okay, this might push me over the edge. So, if you order FSD on your car, which yes is $8,000, it's not cheap. But if you order FSD on your car, you get one option for free. It can be anything: a paint color, a seating option, or a wheel option. And so that can be valuable. So what this of course is doing, if this sounds kind of familiar, it's because this mirrors the promotion that's been running on the new Model 3 Performance for a little while now. Now, for that car, it's all about getting people to commit to buying the car with the paint color they want rather than having stealth gray or nothing, and still qualifying for that point of sale $7,500 federal tax credit. This promotion on the X can still do that for you, but if you decide to choose a paint color as your free option, you would still have to get you still have to get the 5-seat Model X or just roll with the stealth gray, but then be able to get white interior or cream interior, or get 22-inch wheels or a 6 or a 7-seater. So basically, what it's doing, this promotion, is giving you some nice flexibility if you still want to get that $7,500 tax credit, assuming, of course, that you qualify. Just to say this, so it's not unsaid, the Plaid Model X is not eligible for this. This is only for the long-range Model X. But let's dig in a little deeper. Maybe you are tempted by this, and maybe you do want to you want to strategically do it so that you do still get the $7,500 point of sale credit. Or maybe you don't want to worry about that, or you don't qualify, and so you want to just choose the most valuable option. So let's go through this. If you do want to maximize your value, you go with the 6-seat interior option, which personally, as I've said before, in fact, many times on this podcast, I adore the 6-seat interior on the Model X, because to me, it makes the interior of that car feel like the cabin of a private airplane. You get fancy second row seats that are on pedestals, and you can easily step back into the third row because there's a nice space between those two second row seats on pedestals. So the 6-seat option is $6,500. So that is the most valuable option if you want to go with that and take that as your free option. The 22-inch wheels are $5,500. They're the next most valuable option. Although speaking personally, and I recognize that this is subjective, for me, now that the 20-inch wheels on the new Model X are, in my opinion, really nice, and they're a dark color, they're like a dark gray or a black, I personally don't think that you gain as much looks-wise going with the bigger 22-inch wheels. And in terms of range, you would lose range with those larger 22-inch wheels. So, if you love nice wheels, sure, absolutely take that. But I think the 20s on the X now are pretty darn nice. Next up, as we move down the list here of valuable options, the 7-seat Model X option is $3,500. Going now to paint colors, Ultra Red or Lunar Silver paint are $2,500 each. The white interior or cream interior, those are $2,000 each. Oh, and actually, I'm now realizing I forgot one option, which is yoke steering for $1,000. Now, I would probably doubt that anybody's going to choose that one as their free option, but hey, to each their own. That's the whole point of this promotion, is you can choose any one option for free. I would personally choose the 6-seat option. I just reminded you for the umpteenth time how much I love it. It also happens to be the most valuable one. I would take the 6-seat option for free. I was curious, though, what you guys would choose. So I made this the subject of this week's Patreon poll, which you can vote on every week on my Patreon page, which is found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. You do not have to be backing me on Patreon. You don't have to, it's totally free to vote in the poll each week. I have that open to everybody, anybody that stops by. The poll usually goes up on Tuesday evenings, so swing on by anytime. Again, it's patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. And the poll question this week was simply, what free Model X option would you choose? 54% of you voted right with me. 54% of you said you'd take the 6-seat interior. 16%, so it's quite a drop-off. Quite a drop-off after that 6-seat interior. 16% of you said you would choose a non-stealth gray paint color, and a lot of you took to the comments to say you'd choose ultra red, and you know me, I love ultra red. I wouldn't argue with any of you on that one. 13% would take the 7-seat interior, and then from there it's just single digits. 5% white interior, 5% of you would choose the cream interior, 4% of you would choose the yoke steering, and just 3% of you would choose the 22-inch wheels as your free option. So thank you kindly to everybody that took the time to vote in this week's Patreon poll. And again, you can check back every week, typically on Tuesday nights, for each week's new Patreon poll that's available for anybody to vote on. Okay, speaking of Patreon, before I continue with the rest of this week's podcast, I want to say that I hope all of you who are kindly supporting me on Patreon and what I'm doing with Ride the Lightning here every single week, if you're backing me at that $10 per month tier or higher, I hope you enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode, which I do every single week on Patreon, exclusively for Patreon. And this week's topic was a bunch more apps that I'd like to see added to our Teslas. This subject was inspired by the SiriusXM story that I read to you, that I talked about a few minutes ago. And so I came up with a list of a good number more apps that I think would be really, really cool to have in our cars. So if you'd like to hear that, as well as the other 109 lightning rounds, yes, there are now 110 of those up there, that you will get instant access to if you join the Patreon at that $10 per month tier or higher. You can sign on to the Patreon, you can pledge, find out all the information, again, at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. And 2 quick friendly reminders there. Number 1, there's a free trial, a 7-day free trial option if you just like to go try that tier out without actually committing any money. And if you do choose to go ahead and support the podcast at that $10 per, actually technically this works on any of the tiers, there is a 10% discount on any tier if you are kind enough to support for the entire year. So if you do the annual pledge, you'll get 10% off that annual pledge. Thanks to all of you who are already kindly backing me on Patreon, and thank you in advance to any of you that might be considering it and might go ahead and head on over to the Patreon page after hearing this. Okay, next this week, The Boring Company continues to develop its Las Vegas loop with underground tunnels, and one person from a local tourism organization says that the Teslas in them will soon be using driver assistance technology. I saw this story on Teslarati, who writes, in a statement to the Las Vegas Review-Journal this month, President and CEO of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Steve Hill, said that the Boring Company was hoping to start using Tesla's driver assistance technology in the city's tunnels before the end of the year. While Hill didn't specify what driver assistance tool the company would be using, it stands to reason that Tesla's FSD supervised would be fairly easy to adapt to the underground tunnel system, especially compared to actual traffic. Quote, hopefully this will get started just lightly using a driver assistance tool by the end of this year, Hill said. The CEO didn't share any kind of timeline for a fully autonomous system, and it's worth noting that Tesla's FSD supervised still requires a driver to monitor the road and be ready to regain control of the vehicle at all times. Additionally, the Boring Company's vehicles also still require a driver behind the wheel of the Teslas. Thank you to the Boring Company. Or thank you to Teslarati, pardon me, but sure, thank you to the Boring Company as well for digging all these cool tunnels in Vegas. And seriously, I mean, this is pretty cool progress that's happening with the Boring Company up in Las Vegas. I mean, given that the Boring Tunnel Teslas, the cars that are used in those tunnels now, they currently go, I believe, about 35 miles per hour. It would seem like, based on my layman's understanding of autopilot and FSD, that the software can absolutely handle this assignment of hands-free navigation through the tunnels right now. The real fun next step will be doing it with no one in the driver's seat. And even that day, I have to think, is coming soon. It's got to be sooner rather than later, because the tunnels are a closed track, I'm using air quotes there, if you will, that can even be custom pathed by Tesla if they want to. So I'm not sure if there are any regulatory hurdles that would need to be cleared in order for total driverless Teslas to be out there running around, or down there, I should say, running around in those tunnels. But technologically speaking, it sure seems like we're almost there. Now, what I would really love to see is Tesla start to creep up the speeds in the tunnel. If you've been following the Boring Company since the very beginning, you may remember that the original test tunnel, which is a 1-mile stretch underneath SpaceX over in Hawthorne, which is where the original demo event was held, those cars were said to be going, or Tesla said that they would go significantly faster once they were, fully online and fully ramped up. I believe, if memory serves correctly, the stated top speed goal was something like 125 miles an hour. I know it was north of 100, and I know I talked about it on the podcast at the time, and I think it was 125, which would be pretty sweet. If you're zooming through a tunnel at 125 miles an hour, you'll be at your destination in no time, because you're going real fast and there's no traffic. Now, thinking about the even nearer future, though, I'm thrilled to hear that Vegas is continuing progress on expansion. It was covered in this same write-up. Now, digging and construction on the next 2 stops are underway, and according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, they say, quote, full build-out of the system includes 93 stations spread out across 68 miles of tunnel spanning portions of the Strip, downtown Las Vegas, and neighboring areas, according to the Boring Company. So the newspaper there is citing the Boring Company themselves at what the final system map is going to look like underneath Las Vegas. I cannot wait to go try this out, no matter how much of it's open or still under construction, but whatever's there now, which is the convention center loop, I cannot wait to go try this out the next time I'm in Las Vegas. All right, that is it for this week's Tesla news, but before I get to the interview that I promised you at the top of the podcast with the 2 Cybertruck owners who are driving their Cybertrucks up to the Arctic, up to the very top of the world, I wanted to mention a few friends of the podcast. I will start with a new friend, Climatize. This week's episode of Ride the Lightning is sponsored by Climatize. Now, it's probably safe to say that most of you support cleaner energy in our world, from the Tesla in your garage to the solar panels that might be on your roof. I mean, I certainly do. So does Climatize, an investment platform that allows you to fund renewable energy projects across the U.S. while potentially earning up to 10% annually. If you'd like to learn more about the offerings on their platform, please go to climatize.earth/ride. And if you choose to invest through Climatize, it's open to anybody who has a U.S. bank account and is over the age of 18. You can get started with as little as $10, and there are 0 investor fees. Now, if this sounds like something you might want to get involved in, Climatize is offering a $25 investment credit to Ride the Lightning listeners. Go to climatize.earth/ride and use code TESLA1 to get $25 in investment credit once you complete the onboarding form there. Now, I did my research on these guys, and I have to say I was impressed, because I don't just have any sponsor on the podcast. I learned that they were a finalist in Fast Company's 2024 World Changing Ideas Awards in the Impact Investing category. So check them out, but kindly remember that I am obviously not a financial advisor. This is not a solicitation to invest, and all investments do carry risk, so please consult with a professional before making any financial decisions. Thank you, Climatize. Next up, I thought last week was the last call, but no. The Chesed Chicago raffle, the CC raffle folks reached out to me this week, and it turns out the drawing isn't until September 9th. I thought it was a little sooner, so I thought last week would be the last time I'd mention that. But no, you've got this week as well. So this is now for real, the last call. The drawing is on Monday, September 9th. So if you would like to win a Tesla, and yes, that includes a Foundation Series Cybertruck or $50,000 cash, the 10th annual Tesla raffle from Chesed Chicago is back, and it is about to go down. So you can choose again from any of the 5 Teslas if you win, or the cash. Regardless, the proceeds from the raffle once again go to a great cause. This is the 10th year in a row for this. Chesed Chicago, which is a nonprofit dedicated to helping families in crisis. They're funding 80+ programs and services right now. Their goal is helping families get back on their feet by offering goods and services like food, furniture, job placement, navigating government funding, and more. For your chance to win, head to ccraffle.com. Use the promo code RTL to get $25 off of 2 tickets, or the same promo code will get you $500 off of 15 tickets. ccraffle.com, promo code RTL. And I truly, again, I've been saying this every week because I mean it, I really hope that one of you out there listening to this wins this raffle. And then finally this week, before I get to the interview, my friends at XCare, Accelerate Auto, and their XCare extended warranty policy. Again, I believe in this so much that I've got a policy. I think it is better than Tesla's because it offers everything that Tesla's extended warranty does and more. So, the Tesla one is 2 years, 25,000 miles. That's it. That's all you can get, and you have to get it before your factory warranty expires. The XCare plan can be bought anytime, as long as there's less than 125,000 miles on your car. And you can go any number of years from the 2 years that Tesla does up to 10 extra years. So up to 10 more years, up to 125,000 miles of coverage, or anything in between. My policy is 3 years, 40,000 miles of additional coverage on my car. So they include the $100 deductible, 24/7 roadside assistance, as well as rental reimbursement and trip interruption coverage. There's a $100 off discount code, and that code is LIGHTNING. So if that sounds good, head to accelerateauto.com/xcare, which is spelled XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. And with that, I will be right back with Raphael and Justin to talk about their Arctic Cybertruck trek. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
My guests this week are two friends of mine. I've known these gentlemen each for a little while. Justin, I met last year at Tesla Takeover and have been friends with him since. And Raphael, I've known a lot longer than that. You know them better as Bearded Tesla Guy and Teslatino, respectively. Justin, a.k.a. Bearded Tesla Guy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I am well. I'm eager to hear about what you guys are cooking up. But first, Raphael, just got to see you in San Francisco as you've been snaking your way across the country in your Cybertruck. How are you?
Excellent. Doing great, my friend. How are you doing?
I am great. It was great to get to see you on your travels, both at the X Takeover and then when you made your way here to San Francisco. So why am I talking to these guys? Well, they are embarking on, if I may quote Back to the Future and the great Doc Brown, an historic journey is what they are seriously embarking upon. You guys each have Cybertrucks, and you are on your way to the Arctic Circle, an incredible expedition that, is it correct? This has never been done, at least in an EV before. Is that correct?
Well, it's actually been it's been done in an EV, I think, twice now. Okay. Over the course of the first guy that did it over the course of a month. The next guy, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. We're trying to do this in 5 days, and we're doing it in a way that will, quote, pave the way for those who come after us, which I'm very excited about. And also, just a quick clarification: the Arctic Circle is the halfway point.
Oh, my bad. Wait, so where are you actually going? Where is the ultimate destination here?
Yeah, so Tuktoyaktuk is the northernmost spot you can drive to, and it is the Arctic Ocean that we are headed to.
That is amazing. I love, the Cybertruck is an apocalypse mobile, as Elon has discussed in the past. People have been off-roading the heck out of them, doing all kinds of stuff. You guys are wanting to just take this to the literal edge of the world. And I think that's just so much fun. Now, as we're recording this, I am looking at both of you. You are each in your Cybertruck, but you have not convened yet. So as we record this, which just for full transparency is Saturday, August 24th, you're both en route to meet up with each other somewhere in Canada, and then the expedition will begin. So by the time people hear this, they can tune in, they can follow you, see where on Earth, literally where on Earth you guys are. So let's start with, I guess, because I have a million questions for you guys about this. So, Raphael, where are you right now as you and I are recording this?
Yeah, I'm in near Seattle, at a place called Port Angeles in Washington, and I'm scheduled to go camp out in one more forest here tonight, and then I'm off in the morning, going north towards Canada.
And you, my friend, have the highest mileage Cybertruck in the world. Is that still correct?
I would say yes, that is true, but for a non-Tesla owned Cybertruck, right? Because I think they have one internal Cybertruck that has been testing for over 150,000 miles, but that's like a early release Cybertruck that they keep doing testing on.
Yeah, Tesla had a little head start with their own truck, so we're not going to count that one. And Justin, where are you at on the odometer at this point?
Let's see here. I'm at 16,000 miles, so I just flipped over to 16, and I'm 1,000 miles into the part of the trip where I'm trying to meet up with Raphael. So this total trip there and back is probably going to be about 15,000 miles.
Wow.
By the time it's all said and done. So I won't quite catch Raphael because I think he's at 30 right now, but I'll be right on his tail.
So there's so many questions about this. First and foremost, have either of you ever done a road trip, anything remotely like that? Obviously not. You've probably never driven to the Arctic Ocean before, but are you each seasoned road trippers? And I guess the part two for that is, how did you decide to A, do this at all, and B, do it together? Raphael, let me start with you.
Yeah, I have been road tripping even before having an EV. And, I've always been passionate about being behind the wheel. I used to race, etc. And road trips is something that I do to relax, basically. And I enjoy meeting people, learning new cultures, and seeing new places. So, yeah, I've been doing that. As a matter of fact, this particular drive has been 15,000 miles since I left home on June 10th. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Justin, how about yourself on your road trip history? Is this new for you, or are you just an old pro when it comes to road tripping?
I've done so many road trips, and even just this year to this point, I've gone to California 4 times. I live in Florida, so give you an idea. I can't help it. I'm addicted, and I've had an awesome opportunity to see some amazing places across the United States. But that said, this will, without a doubt, be the biggest, craziest, most epic thing I've ever done as far as road trips go.
And so I'll stick with you here, Justin. So how did you guys decide to do this? And what, I know you've both been in the Tesla community as content creators and friends for a long time. Like what motivated you guys to do this in the first place and do it together?
So this is something I've actually been planning for a long time. About 2 years ago, I got very serious and was actively planning with the intent of kicking off as quickly as possible. I probably need to be careful about what details. I tried to do it in a Rivian 2 years ago, but things just didn't work out. And I set my mind to it's going to be in the Cybertruck. So for 2 years, I've really been working hard to plan this and make this happen. And at the Michigan event earlier this year, I was catching up with Raphael, and he was telling me about what they were doing. They were on this trip. They didn't know when they were coming back home, and I knew I could accommodate one more truck because charging is a big challenge. We cannot have a fleet of EVs. And man, you guys want to come with me? And it's almost crazier him saying yes on the spot like that than the 2 years I had to prepare for it.
Well, I'm being a bad host because I should just pause right here and ask you guys. So again, as people listen to this, you guys are going to be neck deep in this expedition, which is what you're calling it. And it's an expedition. This isn't just a road trip. It's much more than that. Where can people follow along if they want to just see where you are, see what you're up to, hear from you guys? I'll start with you, Raphael. Where can people follow this journey?
Yeah, so we are actually, as we speak today and the next couple of days, we're finalizing our expedition website, which is going to be arcticcybertruck.com.
Okay.
And from there, they will have links to our social media channels, including, but not limited to X, YouTube, and Instagram, where each of us has a presence creating content. So, of course, mine is Teslatino in YouTube and X, and on Instagram is Teslatino_official. And I also have a Patreon that allows people to support us, and because this is an expensive, hard labor expedition. This is not something that we can just whip out in 5 minutes and do it. And then, I'll let Justin provide the other details, but those are like from our side. We're going to combine the content. There's going to be much content coming out of this. There's going to be a docu-style documentation of the expedition on both our channels, and it's going to be incredible.
Love it. Justin, anything to add to that?
Yeah, the website will be up by the time you're watching this, so you can get minor updates there. X and Instagram will have like some fun live updates, and YouTube is where you're going to go to get the full experience. This is my first attempt at like a more formalized documentary. And I spent a lot of time deciding if that's what I was going to do with this. So I really, really hope that people enjoy it. As Raphael said, this is a very expensive endeavor, more so than even I had anticipated. And, everything that I have, I know Raphael can vouch and say the same thing. Everything I have is in on this trip right now. So I'm all in. And I want this to be as enjoyable an experience for people to consume as it is to do, because what we're trying to do is to tell a story that is extremely complicated, but also helps with the constant 24 fun. Yeah. I don't know, in this day and age, it's still, the AVs are limited in what they can do. It's just nonsense. So when people walk away from consuming however they want to consume this detail, they should walk away saying, yeah, there's literally nothing EVs can't do. We are literally going to the end of the world with these trucks. And understand, this is 2 Cybertrucks. This is 1 unpaved road, which is 1,000 miles round trip. There are 0 chargers in place. And we are going to set up this trip so that when we are done, those who want to experience this themselves will be able to do it without having to do all the planning and stuff that we have done. Yeah, I've got a number of chargers in the bed that we are leaving along the route. So hopefully by the time people are watching this or shortly after, those will actually be on your navigation on your screen. If you're interested, those will be there from Raphael and myself having I guess our sponsors as well. So
give me the website again, Justin.
arcticcybertrek.com.
Okay, arcticcybertrek.com. People should follow along. It's got links to all your socials on there as well. Now, you mentioned sponsors. Both of your trucks, I have seen Raphael's truck in person. Actually, no, I've seen both of your trucks because Justin was a takeover. So I've seen them both. You guys have done some physical prep to your Cybertrucks to be a little bit more prepared for the adventure to come. Can you guys talk about that, Raphael? First of all, you want to talk about some of the stuff you've done to your truck?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are both going to have very similar setup, if not identical. Right now, my truck is fully loaded. Almost. There's some things that Justin is carrying that's going to bring to our meeting point, and then I'm going to install a couple of things that we're missing. But we have built the truck for this expedition with a frame on the bed that allows us to have a horizontal plane where we install a rooftop tent. That's where we're going to sleep. Yeah. And then along those lines, we also have recovery gear that's going to be around the truck. Inside the bed, we're going to have our things like spare tire. We have a 6-ton jack. We have a full-size air compressor. We have tools with us. We have everything that we need. We have water tanks. We have kitchens to cook. We have absolutely everything that is required to survive this expedition.
Anything to add to that, Justin? Because it sounded like Raphael kind of covered everything.
Yeah, it's extensive, the list. As you can see, my rooftop tent is not on yet. I'm actually a couple hours away from picking it up. So I'm excited to get my hands on that. But yeah, there's no 7-Eleven, there's no Holiday Inn, there's nothing up there. So we gotta, be self-sufficient, and we need to be responsible in how we're impacting the environment on this amazing journey.
And I see you're both rocking Starlinks, so you'll be connected to the world, or even at the edge of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Raphael is coming to you live from the satellites now. I am myself. I know you can see the professional setup I have here, which is not sponsored, but from Harbor Freight with zip ties and
suction to the inside roof of your Cybertruck glass. Hey, it gets it done. That's all that matters. It gets it done.
I did want to point out one. Yeah, I did want to point out one thing. I don't know if you all caught it, but when Justin was talking about the chargers that we're going to leave behind, we're literally going to leave those and make them available on the navigation of the Teslas around the world. We are going to provide GPS coordinates to Tesla so that they know where we installed those, so that they can make them available on the navigation of everyone's car.
That's super cool. That's like you said, you're blazing the trail for others to more easily follow later. I love that piece of this. So just since you're at 30,000 miles already, I'm talking to you guys before you've officially started this. Raph, have you been through a set of tires already yet? Like, what's the tire situation just even at the beginning of this?
Yeah, so when I picked up my car, my Cybertruck back in March, 3 days later, I had replaced the original tires for off-road tires because I immediately took it out a week to Moab, and I was camping in the desert, rock crawling and doing all kinds of stuff. However, those wheels, which had already about 12,000, 13,000 miles on them, on this trip alone, but the reality is that they already had like 26 or 27,000 miles on them. I just replaced the wheels for fresh with fresh tires and new wheels from Unplugged Performance.
Awesome.
And
we love those guys.
Yeah, so both our trucks are going to be sporting different sets of Unplugged Performance wheels. I will be on the Cyberhex and Justin on the Beatlocks, but new wheels, new tires specifically provided for the expedition, so that we don't have to get new rubber from out of pocket. So thank you to Unplugged for sponsoring those.
That's super cool. Now, has Tesla reached out to either one of you? Like, they must be aware of this in some capacity by this point. Raphael, they must already know, like, that you're literally driving around the country racking up more miles than any other customer so far. So have they reached out with any support or any have you heard from them at all?
Yeah, definitely. Tesla has definitely seen what we are doing, and they know about our trips, basically. And I have talked, publicly, even with a couple of people from Tesla, where they have mentioned like the capabilities of the truck, and I have been able to ask them questions and making sure that everything's like peachy. So they know about us, and they know that we're doing labor of love here.
So I don't want to jinx you guys at all, but I am curious here with both of you with a combined, what are we at, like 50, a lot of miles so far. Have on your travels heading into this, as you both make north for Canada to start this thing, any crazy stories so far, like police encounters or road hazards, or hopefully have you both had smooth sailing so far? I'll start with Justin.
Let's start with Raphael.
Okay. All
You
right.
got in trouble recently, didn't you, buddy?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I was too much trouble, but I did get stopped by a police officer here in Washington. But it was all good. They claimed that I was speeding, and I was driving with the traffic. Basically, I was a little bit above the limit, but nothing crazy. And they called that a speed that was inaccurate. But I was respectful. I told them I am so sorry, but I don't think I was doing that speed. Here's my license and here's my registration. And I waited, and he just came back and said, the speed limit here is 55. Please slow down. And that was the end of it.
All right. And if that's the worst of your of what's happened, then I guess you can't complain. Justin, how about you? Have you run afoul of the law yourself, or had any other road incidents?
I don't do anything illegal. And unfortunately, has happened. I did have one guy try to cold roll me, which was fun because, as you well know, in the Model 1 and Model 3, the Mustangs and the Infinities have already learned the lesson. We now get to teach the truck owners the lesson, which is a lot of fun because they really do not like the fact that they can't get in front of you.
Yeah, and it's probably even more of a disparity in the truck world between the Cybertruck and any gas powered. I mean, even if a Raptor rolled up to you, it's going to be a quick escape on the Cybertruck side. So, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
I do want to be fair too, though. It's a mix. So there are some big trucks that pull up and they're very interested to learn more about it. So,
yeah, I mean, I was specifically kind of poking you guys about incidents or weird things, but what's been, since you guys have so many thousands of miles on the road with these trucks, what has been your respective experiences in terms of the general public? Like, are you finding, because I've talked about on the podcast, I got to borrow a listener's Cybertruck back in February. So that the earlier days, for 3 days, I just had it for a weekend, but my interactions here in San Francisco and in the San Francisco Bay Area were incredibly, I think it might have even been 100% positive. I don't know if there was a single, I definitely didn't get flipped off or thumbs down or any. I mean, everybody was thrilled to see this thing and curious and asking questions and taking pictures and videos. What has been your experience with the general public's reaction? Justin, let me start with you.
I think so far it's been actually really good. Now, I live in a touristy area in Orlando. So that's kind of the demographic, I guess, if you want to think bigger picture. I recently went to Hollywood Studios and I got the first parking spot in the parking lot with the Charger, right? It's the first thing you see. And people were like, hey, make sure you put on Sentry mode. I want to see what people are doing. I'm like, that's a good idea. I was expecting the worst, but you know what it was kids standing next to it getting a picture. It was a dad holding his child to see inside, and it was a mom getting a selfie with their kid, and it was just love, and it was fun and smiles. Like even the people, you could tell that they were just curious, and I've really enjoyed that. I've also seen the complete opposite when I visit my friend Greg in Phoenix, where people are a lot different towards the Cybertruck. It's not the same I guess vibe out there.
But it sounds like overwhelmingly positive in your experience.
Yeah.
Raph, how about you?
Yeah, well, I did take the Cybertruck through 3/4 or more of Canada already as part of my current road trip, and the way that Canada received the Cybertruck was incredible. Mostly positive. I had the occasional hater that either flipped us off or thumbs down or point blank straight up on my face said that is the ugliest, dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then you get to educate those that dare to speak to you, and either they change their their sounds or just keep on going, deaf to whatever you're saying. But mostly I would say for every hater, there were at least 1,000 people that thumbs up. I even showed the truck to Tesla employees all over Canada that had never seen it in different service centers. And the receiving was mostly positive for sure.
That's great. Love it. And that's, Justin, you mentioned the kid thing. And that's, we all know, having been Tesla owners for a while, that kids in general tend to just love Teslas. They just love the technology because it's so natural and native to them. And they love, they love Teslas. But the Cybertruck especially, it does seem to be the younger generation. They don't have those preconceived notions of what a quote unquote what a truck is supposed to be. So they really do seem to love it more so than any other age demographic, I think, which is super cool.
Totally.
So before I let you guys go, since again we're talking before you've officially set off, as you're still en route to each other to rendezvous and then start this thing, what and this will be fun. We'll just make this a little time capsule for you guys, not to mention my listeners. What are your expectations? Like, what are you each hoping for in terms of the experience of getting to the Arctic Ocean? Raphael, I'll start with you.
I don't want to tear up, but this is going to be a combination of a lot of struggle for me. I almost died in a motorcycle accident, and this is my way of coming back.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I do this in a positive way, that I leave behind a good lesson for others. I want to dip my toe or straight up just jump into the Arctic Ocean to celebrate that we made it. I hope that halfway there, when we have to go across some water, that the ferry is not being rebuilt, because it gets rebuilt every few weeks, that we can go through and come back safe, that we don't have any encounters with grizzlies or polar bears, and that we can celebrate this with the EV community in general. That is my end goal.
Beautifully said. Justin, I'm sorry you have to follow that, but what are your expectations and hopes for this, my friend?
Can you not see why I'm so blessed to have Raphael and his wife coming with me, and Gary's coming too. He'll be in the truck with me. I don't want people to have the impression that this trip is for us. This trip is for everybody, and I really hope that shines through, and I hope that people enjoy the experience that's going to be had. And then, like with the Chargers, people who want to do it themselves are going to be able to do it now. And I hope that that's what people walk away from it, is a little bit of an understanding of the challenges of adding charging infrastructure in a remote and an environmentally untouched environment, where you can't just fire up a coal plant. How are we doing this responsibly, and how are we doing this in a way that that's going to inspire people in the spirit of adventure?
Nice. Love it. I wish you guys a safe journey there and back. I wish you guys the best time. It's a special thing to even attempt this, because I don't know if I could even make the time to do this. It's like, I know it's a big sacrifice for you guys to even set your lives aside and sort of put your lives on. Not that you're living doing this for sure, but you are setting aside a lot of things, no doubt, each of you to go do this. So I'm thrilled for you. I'm hoping I can't wait to see the documentary afterwards and hear about all the great stories. Guys, safe travels, good luck, and have an amazing time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
It's already a long podcast this week, but I love hearing from you guys in the Ride the Lightning hotline, so let me make time for a few Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls. If you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic, I welcome and invite you to call in, and you can potentially be featured on an upcoming episode. There are two easy ways to call in. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many people each week as possible. And then email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less call and just leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. Super easy. It's a toll-free number that you can call anytime, and that number is 1-888-989-8752. That's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. First up this week is Carter.
Hey, Ryan, this is Carter. I've been a long-time listener, first-time caller. Great podcast. Thank you very much. Hey, real quick, lately I've been pulling up next to the superchargers, and I've run into this problem more and more lately. I think it needs to be addressed by Tesla, but basically, for those of us that drive Teslas, when we pull into a supercharger, we don't know if the cable or the whole assembly is going to work correctly with our car. So if we pull in, get out of the car, unplug the charging cable from the stand, and then plug it into the car, I have to go around and look inside the car to see if it's actually working. And if it isn't working, what do we do? So here's my suggestion. If there was a way to 3D print flags and put them on the Tesla superchargers, and if it didn't work, instead of just hanging the charging cable across the top of the charging unit, then we could put the flag on the side of the supercharger and raise it up, and it would have two positions, basically up and down. And if the flag was up, that means that the charger didn't work. And if the flag was down, we would assume, as a driver of Teslas, that the charger was working. So that's my suggestion. And if anybody has any comments, boy, I'd love to hear them. Again, thanks a lot, Ryan, for the podcast, and we'll talk at you later.
Hey, Carter, thank you for your call and for your kind words. You are suggesting something similar to what I guess a good analogy might be a mailbox flag, right, on your mailbox that lets you know if your mail's been delivered or not. I like the idea, but the good news is that Tesla, I think, has more or less solved this already. So if you weren't aware of this already, when you set a supercharger as your destination, or I guess you don't even necessarily have to do that if you just tap on that supercharger in your car's center screen, it will show you information about that supercharger, including showing you the stalls that are out of order that you will then know to avoid those stalls. Don't pull into those when you get there. It is a somewhat recent addition, and if I may say, a most welcome one. So, Carter, I hope that helps, and thank you for your call. Next up is Jonathan from Atlanta.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for taking my call. So I got some good news. Got a 2021 Model Y with acceleration boost to the third row seat. It is amazing. It replaced my 2018 Model 3 that I gave to my daughter, and that car has 191,000 miles on it and still runs like it's brand new. My problem in question is this is where your worlds collide, the video game world and then Tesla. But I cannot find Bluetooth controllers that are compatible with my 2021 Model Y. I bought, I'm pretty sure it was Xbox One Bluetooth controllers that didn't show up on the screen. There was no connection. And what I read was that Tesla, for 2021 at least, supported Bluetooth Classic. and I don't know which Xbox controller or any other controller for that matter will connect with my Y so I can play games. Figured you the best person to ask this question. So thanks. Any input is great.
Great to hear from you, Jonathan. And hey, congrats on your new to you Model Y. It is an amazing car. It's the best-selling car in the world for a good reason. Also, before I get to your question, kudos to you on racking up almost 200,000 miles on your Model 3. That's seriously impressive, and it sounds like that car's still doing great as well. Most gas cars would have required a ton of maintenance by the time it got to almost 200,000 miles. So, love it. Anyway, all right, getting back to your question. I also dug into this online, and the most reliable solution for a controller seems to be the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. The bad news is that those controllers are not cheap. They're $70 a piece, but I can tell you from personal experience, I've got one sitting right behind me to my left that I use whenever I use my PS5. It's a great controller. It is excellent, and it should work in your Tesla, no problem. I looked through a lot of online accounts, and lots of people said, yeah, try this, try that, and no, the DualSense, the PS5 controller works reliably every time. So, Jonathan, happy gaming in your Tesla. Finally this week, here's a call from Ryan in Nevada.
Hey, Ryan, this is Ryan calling from Nevada once again. So I had a question about full self-driving I was wondering if you could help me with, or the other listeners could. So I was wondering if there is a way to disengage full self-driving without it popping up the little notification about what happened, because sometimes you might want to just disengage it just to take over. That doesn't mean anything went wrong, or anything like that. So I was wondering if you knew the answer to that. Anyway, that's it. Simple question. Take care.
Hello, fellow Ryan. Well, I'm not aware of a way to do that, but I confirmed this myself in my own car after I listened to your call. You can swipe down on that pop-up that comes up and covers your music display, the bug report submission thing. Just swipe down on that pop-up and it'll get rid of it right away. So I hope that's at least a little bit helpful. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to everybody that took the time to call in this week. I will get to more of your Ride the Lightning Hotline phone calls on next week's podcast. And if you would like to call in, I gave you the 2 methods with which to call in at the top of this segment, so you can refer back there. Okay, before I get rolling this week, I have an entertainment recommendation for you this week. Now, movies are really big in the summer, right? It's the classic summer movie season. A lot of big movies come out in the summer. With video games, it's the fall. The fall is the big time of year where you tend to get most of the major video game releases. And arguably the first big game to kind of kick off the fall season, even though we're technically still at the end of summer here, is Star Wars Outlaws. This is a game where it's set between episodes 4 and 5, I think, if I remember correctly, or 5 and 6. Anyway, it's set in between 2 of the original trilogy movies, and you play a scoundrel, so a Han Solo type. So you do some shadier stuff, you do some underground stuff, stealing, and I have to say, I've been playing it. It's pretty fun. I'm having a good time with it. It got good reviews, not like amazing reviews, but I'm about 6 hours in, having a super good time with it, and I'm actually liking it more as I get into it. So if a single-player, open-world Star Wars game where you play as a scoundrel, there's no lightsabers in this, so bear that in mind. But if that sounds of interest, and you've got a gaming PC, a PlayStation 5, or an Xbox Series S or X, I do recommend it, Star Wars Outlaws. Time for your pro tip of the week. It comes from Gary in Washington State. Go ahead, Gary.
Hi, Ryan. This is Gary in Washington State. I have a pro tip for you and your listeners. I have a 2023 Model X. For the 2024.14.9 update, I had read about and was excited to enjoy the new auto shift feature, whereby you can shift from reverse to drive or vice versa with the press of the brake and the turn of a wheel. say after backing out of a parking spot. Well, 2024.14.9 installed on my Model X, and the feature was not mentioned in the release notes, nor was available in settings. Weeks later, I updated to 2024.20.9 and then .10 with the same exact lack of feature in notes and settings. Then I read online, and I can't remember where, about a person who had the exact same problem. Here was their solution. In the Tesla app, go to Service, Request Service, Software and Autopilot, Software Update. Once there, enter some text in the field like, is my software up to date? Tesla will then automatically query your car. I believe it does some sort of software restart because immediately after the query, the feature was in settings and also added to the release notes. My guess is that this process may solve other similar situations in your software and is worth a try if you have tried everything else. Thanks for all you do for the Tesla community, Ryan. You probably have no idea how much we appreciate you.
Oh, wow. That's a great pro tip, Gary. Thank you very much. And by the way, your very, very kind words, I'm not even making a joke or exaggerating here, seriously just made my day. Thank you so much for listening and for taking the time to call in. If anybody else out there has a good Tesla pro tip of the week that you'd like to share with me and your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, I would love it if you would call in and share it. You can do that by calling in just like you would to the regular Ride the Lightning hotline. The 2 ways to do that, I gave you the instructions for a little earlier in the podcast, so just refer back there. Before I get out of here, though, on what has been an extra long episode of the podcast, I hope you've been enjoying it so far. I've been having fun on this one. I mean, I always have fun, but some weeks, I'll be honest, some weeks it feels better for me, not in the fun sense, but like in the I think I'm doing a good job. So like some weeks I'll just be like, oh man, I don't think that one turned out as well as I get down on myself sometimes. I always give it my best, but I'm human, so I think sometimes the best doesn't always come out. So far this episode, I'm riding high. I gotta say, I feel really good about this episode so far. Hope you are enjoying it. Before I go though, I'll mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that can hopefully be of use to you sooner or later. I'll start with abstractocean.com. Cruise on over there, click on whichever Tesla you own, and it will sort the website by all the great aftermarket accessories that are compatible with your Tesla. Whether that's the tempered glass screen protector that's custom fit to the Tesla screen, it's made with Gorilla Glass, the same stuff Corning uses. It's just tons of great stuff over at abstractocean.com. The interior lighting kits, exterior lighting kits, the puddle lights, so when you open your door at night, there's a little light on the bottom of the door that shines down just so you can see the ground, make sure you're not stepping into a puddle or something like that, hence puddle lights. You can get a kit from abstractocean.com that'll change that to like the Tesla T logo, or they got a few of them. So check them out, abstractocean.com. Pile everything you like into your online shopping cart, and when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again is RTLPodcast. It's all one word, no spaces in that. Next, make sure you grab the Snap Plate or the newer Snap Plate Plus if you either want a front license plate on your Tesla or are legally required to by the state that you live in. You can get yours with a discount. So it's a 2-step thing here. First, go to everyamp.com/RTL. And then when you're there, choose whichever Snap Plate you like, throw it in your cart, and use the coupon code RTL. Now, the Snap Plate, if you're not familiar, is a nice, very minimalist designed front license plate bracket that snaps on and off in seconds, but when it's on nice and securely. And if you want to take it off, like if you're detailing your car, you're taking it to a car show or a Cars and Coffee, it can be easily removed as well. Unlike the front license plate bracket that Tesla gives you, which is not minimalist, and it sticks to your car quite literally with automotive adhesive. So if you ever want to take it off, it's going to be a problem. And that's why I recommend the Snap Plate or the Snap Plate Plus, whichever you prefer. The regular Snap Plate is safety optimized with breakaway features to sacrifice itself in a worst case scenario like a parking accident or a car wash. The Snap Plate Plus is strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. Check them out. Again, everyamp.com/RTL. Put whichever one you like in the cart and use the coupon code RTL for a discount. If you're considering solar for your home or business, I do quite recommend budgetsafesolar.com. That's what's on my roof, and that's what's been generating me a ton of power this summer. I love it. 100% energy offset, at least as far as electricity goes, at my house, thanks to the custom design that the Budget Safe Solar people were able to make happen for me. They found some extra little spots on my roof where a panel could go and make a good difference. And so that's what we did. Go to budgetsafesolar.com and remember that they do offer home battery storage as part of their solar installations now. And yes, that does include the Tesla Powerwall version 3. So check them out, budgetsafesolar.com. If you do proceed with a solar installation, all I ask is that you use the referral code RTL. Immaculate Reflections is the place here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area to bring your car to get it looking its best. Whether you want to do paint correction and have the master detailer, Jeff McGovern, he'll get down into your paint with a wet sander and get all those flaws out of the paint. And they're there. Even no matter how good you take care of your car, they come out of the factory that way. And it's not just Tesla, it's every auto manufacturer is like this. So if you want to get that paint finish looking as good as it possibly can, you can do paint correction. Maybe you want to do some paint protection film to protect said paint, whether you are doing the paint correction or not. There's also ceramic coating, which is a next generation version of car wax, in which it goes on there and it's good for 3 to 5 years or more. So if any of that sounds good to you and you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, go to the Immaculate Reflections website, which is irdetailing.com. Contact Jeff through there. And when you do reach out, let him know what you're looking to do. Let him know if you've got a budget in mind, and he will work with you. But make sure to mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and Jeff will kindly extend you the Ride the Lightning listener discount for any services that you do book with him. Finally, my Patreon. I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I'll mention it again here at the end. It's patreon.com/Tesla podcast. And that's the way that you can choose to support the podcast. If you'd like to give something back, that's the way to do it. Hopefully you get enough out of this podcast every single week, because it does publish every single week, and I'm really proud of that. And if you feel like now is the time to show your support, I would welcome it. I would be humbled and grateful if you would consider a pledge. The pledge tiers start at just $5 a month. And in return for that $5 a month, I'll give you a perk. That perk is early access to each week's episode. Basically, as soon as I finish recording, editing, and uploading it, you have immediate access to it. You don't have to wait till Sunday. If you step up to that most popular tier, that's the $10 per month tier, you'll get the early access each week, and you'll get access to all 110 and counting of those weekly lightning round bonus mini episodes that I do exclusively for Patreon. So again, check out the Patreon page if you see it in your heart to do so. Patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Patreon is spelled Patreon. If you're not already following this podcast on your favorite podcast service, I recommend that you do so. It's completely free. It just means that anytime there's a new episode, you'll get a push notification on your device that will let you know that there's a new Ride the Lightning ready for you to listen to. You won't have to remember to go seek it out. So you can follow me on pretty much all the major podcast services, like Apple Podcasts, which is available natively directly in your Tesla. I'm also on TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube podcasts, and who knows, maybe there are one or two others, but those are the big ones. And I'll mention again before I go my referral link to get $1,000 off of a new Tesla. You have to order your car through my referral link. So to do that, start by typing in ts.la/Ryan73014 into a browser, whether it's on a desktop or on a mobile device. Type that in, hit enter. That'll take you to a Tesla.com landing page where it'll ask you to choose Model S, Model X, Model 3, or Model Y. Click on whichever car you want. You will then design your car, choose, configure it how you want, and then just hit order. And when you order the car, you'll have that $1,000 discount applied. So ts.la/Ryan73014. Get that $1,000 off. It's the best deal, the best referral program deal that Tesla has offered in many years now. If you'd like to follow me on X and or Instagram, I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime about any Tesla-related stuff at teslapodcast@gmail.com. And finally, I want to say hello and thank you to the top-tier Patreon backers. Oh, that reminds me. I need to send out the invitations for September's monthly Patreon Zoom meetup. We'll do that next weekend, Saturday, September 7th, at the usual time. So if you're a top-tier Patreon backer, look out for that in your email, possibly by the time you hear this. In fact, I'm going to have to set myself a reminder to do it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to chatting with a bunch of you because we have an awesome conversation as a group every single month. I always look forward to it. It always goes over the hour. Like, I'm always trying to be respectful of people's time, but inevitably we'll go 5 minutes over, maybe 10 minutes over. It's just always a fun conversation with folks. It's just so much fun to chat with all of you. And so I will say thank you to all of you top-tier Patreon folks, starting with the grandfathered-in Plaid level supporters. The Plaid tier doesn't officially exist anymore, but this group of people that I'm about to name kindly and generously still supports me at that tier, and so I continue to give them all the perks that they deserve at that Plaid level tier, which includes their names shouted out at the end of each week's show. So thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. Next up, the Maximum Plaid backers. Extra big thank you goes out to all of you who are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, ContactOneCallCenter.com, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Michael Gallo, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, and Jeff Brown. Finally, an ultra big thanks goes out to the Roadster in Space tier backers. Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, Doug Carey, and Rav. Huge thanks to everybody listening. Huge thanks to everybody backing me on the Patreon at any of the Patreon tiers. Your support is sincerely appreciated. And with that, we've come to the end of a palindrome. 474, same number forwards or backwards. Palindromes are fun. I don't know why, they just are. For a snoozing Daisy the Boxer to my left, I, of course, am Ryan McCaffrey, your humble host. Grateful that you've listened, grateful that you've taken the time to hang out with me, to share in this collective enthusiasm we have for Tesla and these awesome cars. Let's do it again next week, shall we? So until then, happy electric motoring, and I'll see you back here for 475, a little mini milestone coming up next week. Every Sunday, remember, same time, every Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.